Hey, welcome back. It's Jim from SoberNow.com. Today we're going to be talking about self-care. And quite often when I talk with folks in recovery, they seem to think about self-care as though it's something of a luxury, something that's optional, something that maybe you have to have money for or a lot of sufficient amount of time in your schedule to accommodate. And I want to kind of challenge the thinking about that. I say that there's basics to self care and that we do them each and every day. Sometimes we do them really well and sometimes poorly. But let's break self care down into a couple of ideas. The first idea are things that we have to do. The second idea would be things that are really beneficial. And the third, maybe some things that are optional but constitute great investments in our recovery and in improving our quality of life. So, the basics of self care: hydration, nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Those are things that we all have to do. They're part of daily life. But in early recovery, they take on an added importance because we know that for up to a year, the body continues to heal, continues to rid itself of toxins and correct damage that we did through the course of addiction. So we all know 64 ounces of water a day is what's recommended for intake. And if you're like me and you rely on a lot of coffee or energy drinks to get through the day, well, then you also need to supplement a little extra with water because anything that has caffeine in it is a diuretic. And so a diuretic is something that takes water out of the body. So making a habit of maybe a glass of water when you get up first thing in the morning, with meals at different times throughout the day, is just going to continue to support the functions that your body is trying to optimize. I think you'll also find that you have fewer headaches, more energy, and it helps your metabolism as well as your skin. Nutrition, we all know the basic food groups, what we need, calorie intake, what kind of investments we should be making there. And I get it. If you have a really busy lifestyle, if you have a lot of commitments going, you don't always find the time to plan meals, make sure that your nutrition's where it should be. So this is where I will usually encourage people to adopt a minimal commitment, a basic come hell or high water. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm not going to do. And for me, that started with eliminating drive-throughs. So food that I can get while I'm still sitting in my car is obviously not food that's good for me. Just having a basic quality of I'm going to eat something that's relatively nutritious, and maybe that means that I grab a whole grain sandwich someplace between meetings or between work commitments. Just those little things pretty readily add up. Sleep is a tough one, especially early in recovery. We find it difficult to sleep. We're coping with anxiety. We have high levels of stress. We're trying to do a great many things. And we're also people who tend to struggle with any kind of change process. So making sure that we develop some good habits around sleep serves us very well. So habits around sleep, as much as possible, set a schedule for what time, as best you can, what time you're going to go to sleep and what time you're going to get up. And sticking that to a routine pays off dividends. For a lot of us, we need to develop some habits about getting ready for sleep. If your brain operates anything like mine does, it goes 100 miles an hour in about 12 different directions all day, every day. So being able to calm my brain down and relax my body enough for sleep means that at some point in the evening, for me, right around 10 o'clock, I'm done with anything that's really pressing or important. I'm going to take some time and read for pleasure or move away from screens. I'm going to change clothing, get something really comfortable. And by continuing this as a pattern, My brain associates this with, okay, so these are the steps that we take, and that means we're getting ready for sleep. So I'm going to relax more, and I'm going to prepare myself for this. The last one, exercise. And if you're anything like me, you hate it, you don't want to do it, but you do want to have good health. You do want to have a reasonable body weight, or maybe even hope to lose some weight. So for years and years and years, I would agonize about this. I would tell myself I really should be going to the gym. I'd feel bad about any weight gain. And this is where I come back to the idea of a minimal standard of self care. My good intentions aren't enough. So I had to make a promise to myself of what is it that we can do every day to ensure better health and less just exhaustion in the middle of the afternoon, less of just feeling drained and feeling like I didn't have enough energy. So for me, I boil everything down to a simple choice, right? So instead of complicating this or agonizing over it, I said, all right, we got two simple choices. We can do some form of exercise every day, or we can continue to buy bigger pants. And I hate buying bigger pants. So every day I walk. It's usually half a mile, sometimes up to a mile. And when I'm up to it or when I have time, I will do even a little bit more. But doing that minimal standard ensures that I have a baseline that is conducive to the lifestyle that I want to live. Okay, so those are the basics and really the must-dos of self-care. And I want you to think about it this way. You're going to do them. The only thing that's up for grabs is how well are you going to do them. Now we can look at what can I reasonably add to my self-care that's going to promote the life that I most want to live. And one of my biggest recommendations to people is journaling. Journaling allows me to get on the same page with myself quite literally. It allows me to take everything that's on the hamster wheel and get it out. When I bring it out into the open, it looks different. It's more amenable to change. Everything tends to work better. From there, massage therapy, my absolute favorite form of self-care, because all I have to do is lay there. He does all the work. But being able to release muscle tension also accelerates release of toxins from the body. Doing chiropractic care, doing energy work, things like Reiki or Qigong. All of these, if they're affordable to you, are excellent investments. If they're not affordable to you, then we look for substitutes. We know that taking a hot bath is relaxing, releases toxins, releases muscle tension, but it's not something that you necessarily make time for. So I want you to think about it this way. In the midst of your busy, chaotic, stressful life, self-care is an investment that makes all of your efforts and the time that you spend more efficient. So if you're anything like me, you have a million things packed in your schedule for this week, but you're not necessarily doing them well. Sometimes you're trying to multitask and you end up making more of a mess than anything else. So think about it in terms of, by doing this for myself, I ensure that all of my other efforts are more efficient, more productive. One last piece. I really want to put socialization into our concept of self-care, because what I know for myself is that when I spend too much time alone, it limits my perspective and it has a strong influence on my mood and my attitude. Being in the company of good people really isn't just something that I do for fun or for enjoyment. It's something that sharpens my thinking. I need to have people in my life who challenge me and hold me accountable, and that too promotes my self-care. I don't want to be the only one monitoring me in terms of how things are going with me. I want to invite input from people that I respect and that I know care about me, and people that invest in me. And when I make that reciprocal, what I find is my circle gets a little bit bigger, but it gets higher in quality. I'm fond of saying that two minds aren't better than just twice as good as one. They're a million times better than one. So having collaboration, having people in my life that I work with well, those are forms of self-care because they promote absolutely everything I do. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear how you practice self-care and what investments you're making. Let's talk about how to make those routines so that they become habits, so that they become things we do without even thinking about it. Email me, jim@sobernow.com. Let me know what's working in your recovery, what kind of questions you have, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks.